Dani Pedrosa, massive race for him. Very, very popular in this part of the world. A 125 and double 250cc world champion. Pole position here last year. That lap record still remains in. Dani Pedrosa, massive race for him. Very, very popular in this part of the world. A 125 and double 250cc world champion. Pole position here last year. That lap record still remains intact. And back in pole as he tries to inflict the first defeat of the season on Marquez.
Yes, it's his 27th pole in the Premier class and 45th career pole for Dani Pedrosa. So delighted to be back up there on the front of the grid. Let's see what happens. Don't forget as well, by the way, since the four-stroke MotoGP era began back in 2002, Honda have now racked up 99 Grand Prix victories. Most of them have come from Dani Pedrosa, so they'll be hitting their century if either Pedrosa or Marquez wins today. You just saw the red flash down the outside of the grid. Dovizioso is about to line up then in 7th place after that late exit from the pit lane.
Jorge Lorenzo disappears for the usual comfort break before the race gets underway. I tell you, you'd need a comfort break if you rode a race like last time out in Mugello, wouldn't you?
I hope he's had a comfort break since then.
So, just under a quarter of an hour to go. We keep a very, very close eye on the weather. It's dry at the moment. Marquez chasing his 7th successive Grand Prix victory. 4 podiums here in Barcelona, including 1 win in 125. Invincible as far as the races go in 2014, but not as far as qualifying goes.
In the last 3 races, victory from pole and setting the fastest lap along the way. If he does win here this afternoon, as you say, it would be 7 in a row. Only Rossi's done that in the MotoGP era, going back to 2002. So still in a great position to equal and beat records, isn't he, Marc Marquez? What about Stefan Bradl as well? He'll be starting 4th on the grid this afternoon. Last year, he finished the race inside the top 5 here.
Yeah, he was 5th last year. He's a former Moto2 winner here. The year he went on to win the championship was 2011. And despite all the problems he had at Mugello, the crash in the warm-up, then being brought down by Cal Crutchlow in the race, he has looked very, very strong all weekend on that satellite LCR Honda.
And that was Oscar Ara, his assistant there, just to our left-hand side, just helping to ease the tension, perhaps. Look at that sky, though, in the background. It looks threatening, doesn't it, over the mountains, not too far from here. Valentino Rossi starting this race from 5th position, right in the middle of the 2nd row. There was a crash, though, for him. Was it this morning or yesterday afternoon?
No, it was in the morning warm-up. Yeah,
session.
turn 13.
Yeah.
He says to get anywhere near Marquez, he has to improve his qualifying. He has improved his qualifying greatly. He starts from the middle of that 2nd row, but generally his race pace throughout the weekend has not looked too strong.
The following very, very strong, though, isn't it? Lining the outside of the stadium section at turn 12. All of those bright yellow 46 flags, as you can very much see. So he's starting 5th on the grid this afternoon. And there's a man who knows all about winning. Ryan Vidapoto here, over from America, based in Florida at the moment. I think he's coming to Aston as well in a couple of weeks' time. And there then is Neil Hodgson carrying out the interview for British TV. Just grabbed him at the right moment there, didn't he? Yeah.
We've got some good riders here. John McGuinness from the TT on the Isle of Man. Obviously Lewis Hamilton, then a top motocross star. Aleix Espargaro, massive race for him. Lives just over the hill here. fourth second row start of the season. He's qualified in 6th place on that Forward Racing Yamaha, 7th in the World Championship. And it's going to be a great battle again with his brother Paul, who's a bit further down in 10th place.
New livery as well for Aleix Espargaro this weekend. Bright yellow then. Look at this, we've got all selection of people, haven't we? Nani Roma here as well, the Dakar start. So stars from Dakar, Formula One, motocross in America, Isle of Man TT.
Hey.
Guys, sorry, I'm just going to have to butt in here. I'm down here with 21 times TT winner John McGuinness. John, this is the 65th anniversary, I think, since racing started. It was at the TT then. What do you think the guys that may have been racing back then would think about how racing has progressed?
Yeah, massive difference, isn't it? I mean, all these prototype bikes now are so different to what they started off with, but still the same. They're still on the grid lowing to win races, and you know, and in those days they were still as determined as they are now. And yeah, no, it's such a thrill to be down here, you know, on the grid. I've never been to one in Spain, so the atmosphere and the crowd's electric, you know, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Obviously, this weather, ominous clouds, you know, these weather changes. How do riders feel when they're on the grid, but they just don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah, it's going to be tough for him. You can see the cloud moving in from both sides into where we stood at the moment. So I think we're looking like we're going to get a shower. But, you know, they can't stop the race. If they can set off on slicks, they've got to come in and change bikes. So make it unbelievably interesting for the spectators. But for a rider, it's going to be tough. And a bit of a lottery. But, I mean, the best man's going to win on the day. But it's going to be a tricky one.
Well, you are here with Monster. But impartially speaking, who might your money be on?
I don't know. I mean, everybody would love to see Valentino win. I was in a race with Valentino in 2000 on a 500, last Grand Prix I ever did as a wildcard. So, and he's still doing it now, and he's still the most popular. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, I'd love to see Valley win. But I think there's 3 Spaniards at the front who are looking like they're going to be going for bragging rights to win.
Right. Thank you very much, John.
Great to talk to John McGuinness, absolute TT legend. He did win a TT race in the Isle of Man, the electric bike race. I think he won, didn't he? Last week.
What about Andrea Iannone then? Back down on the MotoGP grid here, lines up 11th in the middle of the 4th row of the grid. One of 2 riders who progressed through from Q1 to Q2. The other was Alvaro Bautista, and in turn they qualified 11th and 12th. He was right up there on the front row of the grid, wasn't he, Andrea Iannone, in Italy, at home in Italy at Mugello 2 weeks ago. Now, look up, look at that sky.
Some of that's clouds, some of that's mountains. We wait and see. Just back to Andrea Iannone, he's a double winner here also in the 125 and Moto 2 classes. Does appear, we got 9 minutes remaining, the race is probably going to start dry, but after that, who knows? It's been a difficult weekend, hasn't it, for Alvaro Bautista? Dylan first.
No, I was just going to say it is getting darker. I think you're right. It is going to start dry, but because the wind has picked up a little bit more, and it's changed direction. That's another big change from before. We do have some patches of blue sky, but these clouds are just very overwhelming. So I think people just need to keep their fingers crossed.
Which way does it seem to be coming in from at the moment, Dylan, from where you are?
It's now almost coming down the home straight rather than the other way, which means that the really thick, dark clouds that are actually quite low, which you can see from the back there, are now being blown over the track. The only good thing is it's still quite a light wind.
Fingers crossed. 8 minutes to go before the start of round 7 of the MotoGP World Championship. It does appear it will start with a dry weather setup. After that, who knows? Scott Redding doing a really decent job, solid job on his MotoGP debut season for that Grassini team on the open class Honda. 4th here last year in Moto2, which is his best ever result in Catalonia.
Yes, and the leading open class Honda on the grid this afternoon, lining up between 2 Ducatis. It's Crutchlow and also the wildcard runner, the test rider, Michele Pirro, who's 15th on the grid. There is the light breeze Dylan was mentioning. Look at the trees in the background there, and there is a very sizable crowd here this afternoon. There then is Michele Pirro racing once again. He was also at Mugello 2 weeks ago and lines up 15th on the grid here.
Yeah, 3rd of the factory Ducatis. He is the Ducati test rider. He's had a lot of work to do, and he has a lot of work in front of him to get that Ducati competitive. A former Moto2 winner there. Not here, but he has won a Moto2 race. That was in Valencia, Spain. So he is a Grand Prix racer, Michele Pirro. Is Jorge Lorenzo in here somewhere? He might have only just arrived, yes.
There he is, and he's just talking there with the head of the QMMF, the Qatar Foundation, and obviously the Qatar Grand Prix and the Moto2 team as well, which houses Anthony West. So down on the grid we are. Don't forget, this is the 65th anniversary of the World Championship. The actual anniversary of the first 500 race is Tuesday of next week, but it was the first ever race, the 350 race on the Isle of Man TT in '49, which was
run by a British rider and a British bike.
It certainly
we
was.
haven't said that for a long time, have we?
Yeah,
so time is running out and the weather remains dry.
For now.
Yeah, we really will keep our fingers crossed.
So Nicky Hayden, he's elected to ride this weekend. There was a question mark. He decided after Friday practice that he would resume on painkillers with that very painful wrist, which was damaged in 2012, and it certainly wasn't helped when he flew over the barrier at Motorland Aragon, if you remember, off the Ducati that year. He's lining up as the second of the customer Honda runners, 16th on the grid, just ahead then for the first time this year, one position ahead of his compatriot. Here he is, Colin Edwards.
Yeah, Colin Edwards' last appearance in Barcelona. Seemed a very strange place, wouldn't it? A MotoGP grid without Colin Edwards next season. Still a lot of talks about his future, about actually helping perhaps Michelin with tyre testing and various other schemes. I'm sure he will still be around at the Grand Prix paddock. Just back to Nicky Hayden, of course, he did have an operation. He didn't ride at Mugello to clean out the wrist that's been causing him all these problems.
Remember, there is a post-race test taking place here tomorrow as well. Amongst other things, Dominic Egerter, the Swiss rider, hopefully, if it doesn't rain, and the forecast do say it will be riding the Avinti bike. So there's something to watch out for in the post-race test tomorrow. It's 13:55 local time, so the safety car pulls away with 5 minutes to go now before the warm-up lap begins. If this rain is going to come, how far into the Grand Prix will we be before those first drops start falling? Now, race director Mike Webb, he always insists that when the first drops do start coming down, he tends to put the white flag out as soon as possible, because it just leaves it then in the rider's hands.
Dylan, you were saying that some of the teams hadn't prepared a bike with the right disc and tyre. Surely now they must be doing that, because they must be worried it is going to rain.
What they said at Yamaha, obviously you've got to bear in mind, when we talk about preparing a bike, this isn't a lengthy process.
No.
It's pull the front wheel out, change the disc, change the calipers, change the pads, and obviously soften the suspension roughly by about 10-12%, and obviously just change the electronic map. So when I spoke with you, we still had quite a bit of sun. It's obviously getting darker now. I think that the teams now will, once the riders go on their outlet, then they will start getting the second bike ready for the wet, because now it's obviously that little bit more likely that it's going to happen.
Fascinating next hour coming up, isn't it? What is the weather going to do? I think that's the most important question. Can Jorge Lorenzo and Dani Pedrosa mount some really serious challenge against Marc Marquez? And Dylan, as always, absolutely right when he told us about the tyre choice. I think it's Stefan Bradl is the only one who's made any change. Yes,
it's a hard compound front then for Stefan Bradl.
And just on a note, if it does stay dry with the brake disc, as we know since Mugello, the guys can go up in size. From the front runners now, the only one to not opt for that is actually this man, Dani Pedrosa. He obviously physically quite a bit smaller than the other riders, so he doesn't struggle under braking, and the extra weight of those discs actually only hamper him, and he can't make much of it.
So a very good afternoon to you from Barcelona in Spain. It's round 7 of the MotoGP World Championship. We're worried about the weather, but 25 laps of the circuit to Barcelona, Catalunya. I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside me, Gregory Haynes, and down in pit lane, could be a busy boy today, Dylan Gray.
Certainly could. Dani Pedrosa then on pole position for the first time since Barcelona last year, in the 45th pole in his World Championship career. Lorenzo on the front row, Marquez on the front row, but crashed at the end of qualifying. Bradl, Rossi and Aleix Espargaro make it row 2. Then it's Dovizioso on the first of the Ducatis, joined by Bradley Smith and Yoni Hernandez directly through to Q2. Excellent pace through practice and qualifying. Pol Espargaro back home now, living in Andorra, but back home this weekend, and lines up 10th on the grid from Iannone and Bautista. Cal Crutchlow, though, was very disappointed not to progress through from Q1. Scott Redding joins him on the 5th row. Then it's Pirro, Nicky Hayden and Colin Edwards together. Then the two Americans. Carol Abraham Parks out-qualifies Laverty for the 4th time in 7 races. Laverty himself there. Two BBM riders just sandwiching Hiroshi Oyama on row 7. Hector Barbara, Mike DiMeglio and Michele Fabrizio replacing Danilo Petrucci for the 2nd race in a row complete the grid. Now this will be an absolutely critical part of the afternoon, perhaps those second bikes.
Second bikes are now being prepared, as Dylan said they would. Without a doubt, this has been declared a dry race. We're keeping an eye on the clouds. This is the final sighting lap. This won't tell them too much. Perhaps they're going to be looking up, though, just to check it out, how the weather is coming in. This is turn 1, and then they immediately flick it left to turn 2. Big crowd here this afternoon. They could be in for a drenching in those open grandstands as we ride with Jorge Lorenzo, who's won here for the last 2 years.
Yeah, and 3 wins from the last 4 years. Great record here then for Lorenzo. 25 degrees Celsius ambient temperature, so it's pleasant, but the humidity, I would say, is the main worry. You've got a Yamaha 1-2 there on the warm-up lap. They'll then slot back into their grid positions as they make their way around this 4.7 kilometre, 2.9 mile layout on the outskirts of Barcelona.
Well, Dylan, I don't expect you can tell us much, but do you think the clouds are coming in a little bit more, or how do you feel?
No, I feel that it's pretty much the same. We've got a few rays of sun. It's a mix of sun, but also very, very dark clouds. They look threatening. Nothing's happened yet. It's just, do you know what? This is one of those which is too tough to tell.
Attendance here today, 92,800, really big crowd here, and I think for their sake, we hope the rain doesn't come down. For the sake of the race, we haven't had a flag-to-flag race for quite a while, so it could make life quite interesting. Let's hope we get, like it was in Mugello, a straight race and a really good one.
But the one thing Greg mentioned was, obviously, with the temperature, the good thing is, should it only drizzle a little bit, then it's going to dry relatively quickly due to the temperature.
So we ride with Dani Pedrosa in pole position for the first time since last year. So welcome to Barcelona, round 7 of the MotoGP World Championship. We're worried about the weather. It's dry out there at the moment. I'm Nick Harris, sitting alongside me, sitting down in pit lane, Dylan Gray, sitting alongside me, Gregory Haynes. And we're worried about the weather, they're worried about the weather. It is dry, and we have Dani Pedrosa in pole position. The first crash of the season for Marc Marquez in qualifying. He was 3rd fastest on the front row, sandwiched between them. The Yamaha of Jorge Lorenzo. Are we going to have a repeat of the Mugello battle? Is the rain going to play any part in the proceedings? 25 laps, round 7 of the MotoGP World Championship.
Out and go, and Lorenzo leads away. Good start also for Rossi. Look at Rossi squishing in between Marc Marquez and Bradley as they head down towards the first corner for the first time. So the worry at the moment is getting around turns 1 and 2 without any trouble. Pedrosa leads Lorenzo, swooping around the outside. Lorenzo, great move, and he leads, and it may be a Yamaha 1-2. Rossi ducks into 3rd, and now Marquez is attacking Rossi for 3rd at turn 3. For now, though, Lorenzo, Pedrosa, Rossi, Marquez, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Fierce old stuff down into turn 1. Valentino Rossi a lot happy to be up on that 2nd row of the grid. Pedrosa and Lorenzo scrap it out. Rossi now up into 2nd place. Yamaha, early promise from Lorenzo and, of course, Valentino Rossi, but a decent start from Marc Marquez, albeit down in 4th place.
On board there now with Dani Pedrosa off his 45th career pole position. Did you see those clouds in the distance there? Rain is looming here in Barcelona. Lorenzo leads for now and aiming for a 3rd consecutive victory here as they stream their way up the hill towards turn 9. Look at Crutch there trying to sort himself out in front of Yoni Hernandez.
Terrific start by Jorge Lorenzo. He is a great starter. Rossi very, very aggressive as they race down now towards turn 10 for the first time. Marquez thinks about getting up the inside of Pedrosa, decides not to do it. Stefan Bradl watches on, looking very comfortable indeed in 5th place.
Yeah, watch out for Aleix Espargaro as well with that new livery this weekend. It's a one-off for his home race here in Barcelona. He's just coming through the shot now. There he goes, bright yellow this weekend for Aleix Espargaro. So it is Lorenzo from Rossi coming up to that final corner where they battled so hard and swapped positions at the end of the race 5 years ago. But now we're looking back from Pedrosa, battle for 3rd, Marquez bearing down on us.
Yeah, and now let's have a look at Marc Marquez. Tries to come out of the slipstream. First we ride with Pedrosa, now we ride with Marquez. Lorenzo leads the way. Here is Rossi. Here comes Marquez on the brakes, up the inside of his teammate. Can he make it stick? He certainly can. Marc Marquez now up into 3rd place. There is nothing Dani Pedrosa can do.
And that's exactly where Marquez crashed at the end of Q2 qualifying yesterday. Took too much curb and lost control of the bike, under braking for that first corner. Now there are these second bikes being prepared. They cannot come in unless that white flag comes out, and the white flag certainly won't be appearing unless there's a few drops of rain around this circuit. So it's Lorenzo, Rossi, Marquez, Pedrosa, Bradl in the top 5 from Dovizioso, Pol Espargaro, Iannone, Aleix Espargaro, and Hernandez completes the top 10.
Good to see two Yamahas out at the front challenging the Hondas, but they're nicely placed up as well. Marquez in particular. Let's see what Dani Pedrosa's got in his locker. He had the arm pump operation after Jerez. Can he fight at this sort of level? And Stefan Bradl, who's looked so good all weekend, hanging in there in 5th place.
Yeah, and Stefan Bradl, another man to have an arm pump operation after Jerez, and he went off to Germany to have that done, and he's right behind Dani Pedrosa now as they make their way down the back straight. Look at Bradl on the white LCR bike, Pol Espargaro all over the curves. A bit of a big moment for him. Actually, the two brothers are now running in tandem, 7th and 8th. Pol is 7th. Aleix is 8th. Further down the order, Crutchlow is 11th from Smith. Bautista is running 13th, so that's a poor start from 12th on the grid. Redding 14th, where he started, and then it's Pirro. Nicky Hayden is running 16th, so also where he started the race from.
We ride with Jorge Lorenzo, right behind him, Valentino Rossi. They plunge down. We have Karel Abraham in the gravel. He could get back into the proceedings, but obviously World Championship points probably very difficult now for the Czech rider. That's down at turn 10. It's actually a crash for Karel Abraham. By the time we got there with the camera, he'd picked the bike up. Yamaha still lead the way, hounded by the two factory Hondas and the satellite Honda of Stefan Bradl.
Second retirement of the season then, if he does have to pull in for Karel Abraham, also retired in Jerez a few weeks ago. So still that tension down there in the pit lane. Will those second bikes be used in this race? Meantime, back on the track, there's enough tension for Yamaha as it is. Look at this, we're on board with Rossi, turn 4, right up behind Jorge Lorenzo now.
Well, Rossi said that he's got to improve his qualifying, he's going to run with these guys. He thought he could run with them in Mugello, but he started, 10th on the grid. He's made a great start, and he really is pushing Jorge Lorenzo very hard indeed. Marc Marquez just keeping his powder dry a little bit at the moment, down in 3rd place. Admits that this is not his favourite circuit because of the curves on the inside. They are a little bit high. Rossi chipping out bits of paint, chipping out I don't know what from the edge of the track there.
I'm not quite sure what was going on there. I don't know whether a bird had been hit at first. That's what it looked like. Hopefully not. By the way, the two Espargaros have swapped positions further back. Pol has lost a place to Aleix, who is now up into 7th position. Look how close they all are around the left-hander here at turn 10. Then flick it back right into 11. Marquez now looking very, very racy. Right up behind Valentino Rossi. Marquez was the fastest of all of them last time round.
Fingers crossed the weather doesn't come, because this promises to be an absolute cracking race. Well done, Stefan Bradl. All those problems he had, of course, in Mugello. Crashed in the morning warm-up, then brought down by Kel Crutchlow in the race. Dylan, any news about the weather?
Sorry, guys. Yes, well, so far it's holding off. You sometimes feel these phantom spits, but that's nothing really. But as you can see, and as you can maybe hear, the bikes are in pit lane. They've got the disc on. They're ready for the wet, and they're being warmed up.
Yeah, they are ready. Rossi thought about trying to get at the inside of Lorenzo down into turn 1. Marc Marquez was ready to make any sort of move if that happened. We ride with Lorenzo. Superb on board stuff. Number 46, 9 times winner here in Barcelona. Rossi takes the lead from Lorenzo.
This is lap 5 of 25, still 22 to go. We've lost Bautista from the race, by the way. Lorenzo fights back at Rossi into turn 5. What will Marc Marquez do? He's playing the waiting game. Rossi again fighting back on the inside. Listen to the crowd roar. Lorenzo almost hung out to dry on the outside. Rossi's made it stick, but for how long? This is as close as you like, isn't it? Rossi, Lorenzo, Marquez, Pedrosa and Bradl all locked together at the front.
Well, it was 2 riders in Mugello. It's 5 riders at the moment. And I'm not sure about the Yamaha riders. Marquez is going to sit there and pick them off, I think. But it's great to see 2 great world champions, Rossi and Lorenzo, do what they've done. Here comes Marquez at turn 10, and he's through on Lorenzo. Brave move. Lorenzo around the outside, but Marquez has made it stick. Marquez now up into 2nd place.
Well, that was a very late lunge, wasn't it? Very, very late on the brakes for Marc Marquez. Committed indeed, up to 2nd now, then after dropping back to 4th at the start. Looking back from the Yamaha of Lorenzo at Pedrosa. Don't forget, Pedrosa started this race on pole and he's now running 4th. Confirmation on the timing screen, Bautista is out of the race.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen Pedrosa running like this since he's had that operation. And if he can hang in there, who knows what's going to happen.
Rossi eking out a slight advantage, just under 0.3 of a second. It looked as though Lorenzo was about to attack Marquez, didn't it? Down to turn 1, but all just running in tandem. Still status quo then.
Yeah, really concertinas up, doesn't it, when they go down into turn 1. I don't know if it's going to settle down a little bit now. We've seen some fabulous starts to races this season. I mean, that race in Argentina was like a Moto3 race, wasn't it? But Valentino Rossi leads here in Barcelona, chasing his 10th winner here. Marc Marquez has only won here once. That was in the 125cc class. Jorge Lorenzo has won here 4 times, 3 times in MotoGP. Dani Pedrosa from pole position. And hanging in with them is Stefan Bradl. Please, please, rain, stay away. This is a cracker.
Tip it left again into the left-hander at 7. It's an easy flick right uphill. Avoid the bumpy curves if you can, and then into turn on. It's a blind approach to here. Pol Espargaro is going backwards, by the way. He's lost another position to Andrea Dovizioso. They're 7th and 8th.
And it'll be very interesting to see if Stefan Bradl can hang with those guys, because everyone is on the medium rear compound, but only Bradl has opted for the harder front, which could pay off towards the end.
Yes, spot on, Dylan. I tell you, Marquez likes turn 10. He thought of having another nibble up the inside of Rossi that time round, didn't he? Of course, that famous incident between him and Pol Espargaro in the Moto2 race just a couple of years ago. Look at those black clouds. Please stay away.
And that hard front compound would be absolutely critical for Bradl later in the race if they're battling, because it's better braking stability with a harder front compound on the bike, but maybe a little bit less edge grip. Anyway, for now, it doesn't really matter because he's running up there anyway in 5th position. We're with Marquez. Now we're in the draft of Rossi as we start lap 6.
And here comes Lorenzo. Across the pit lane entrance, up the inside of Marc Marquez. Classic Barcelona overtaking manoeuvre from Lorenzo. He makes it stick. Marquez comes back at him straight away. Lorenzo just about hangs in there as they race into turn 3.
Yeah, tremendous drive for Marquez out of turn 2, but it's Dani Pedrosa who's right up behind his teammate now and attacking for 3rd place. Remember, Pedrosa started on pole right there. Stefan Bradl's just being very careful, isn't he? Don't run into the factory Hondas, whatever you do. Look at the line comparison. They're all pushing so hard and braking so late into the right-hander at 4. We're looking back from Lorenzo at Marquez. That's another late lunge at turn 5. Is he through? Yes.
He's through on Lorenzo. Marc Marquez immediately back into 2nd place. Lorenzo up the inside. Can Lorenzo make it stick round turn 7 and 8? No. So they race up towards turn 9 and then down towards 10, which Marquez likes very much indeed, but Lorenzo may be close enough, perhaps even to get round the outside of him. What a move this was by Marquez.
Yes. Very, very late and committed once again on the brakes into turn 5. Now back down to 10. What's the situation? It's the same as before. It's Rossi, Marquez, Lorenzo, Pedrosa, Bradl. Outside of this battle, Pol Espargaro is still 6th. Pol has repassed Andrea Dovizioso to move back up into 7th place. Iannone 9th and Anders 10th, the 2 Pramac riders together. Then Crutchlow, Smith, Redding, Hayden, Hiroshi Ayama is now ahead of Pirro and up into the final points paying position.
Through turn 12, past the chicane that the Formula 1 cars use, into 13. Dani Pedrosa looks very comfortable there at the moment behind Jorge Lorenzo. He's close as well. He may come out of the slipstream. Here comes Dani Pedrosa up the inside of Jorge Lorenzo. Can he take over 3rd place? Perhaps he's a little worried that Marquez and Rossi are getting away at the front. Lorenzo tries to fight back as they flick it right and then left. Lorenzo comes back on the inside, but Pedrosa now up into 3rd.
Yeah, Pedrosa really strong on the brakes as well. Not only did he pass Lorenzo there, but closed right in on Marquez as well. Yes, obviously you always get the concertina effect under braking, but it was just as close on the exits of the corner. Still 19 laps to go in this Grand Prix. Still a very, very long way to go on this journey. Looking back then, this is the gyro cam. Looking back from Marquez, and for the first time in a while then, it's Pedrosa chasing and really attacking Marc Marquez.
Yeah, probably for the first time this season. We've seen him attack Marc Marquez very, very close indeed. We switched to Dani Pedrosa's onboard camera, but Rossi still leads the way. He won his first Grand Prix here in 1997, a 125cc race, and he's 35 years old and he leads again. Will he lead at the end of the race? Who knows? This is a battle royal, and the rain is still staying away as they come down towards turn 10. 18 and a half laps to go.
Yes, and Bradl just sitting there, staying very close to him, actually struggling to stop it that time at turn 10. But he's just thinking, I've got the hard compound front tyre on. Let's see what happens later on in the race. Look, I don't know what that is, but every time I think it's white paint flying up off the white line on the exit of turn 10. We saw it again there.
Rossi over the top, down through 12, down towards 13. There will be 18 laps to go. Just settle down momentarily before the battle will continue. Marquez in 2nd place. First crash of the season for Marc Marquez in qualifying. He's still qualified on that front row of the grid. And Lorenzo having to work very, very hard at the moment to hang with his teammate Rossi and the 2 Hondas. But he does do so on the braking into turn 1.
He actually ran a little bit deep at turn 1 that time. There's a small gap now emerging between Lorenzo and Bradl for 4th and 5th places. Half a second it is. Now replay. This is back at turn 10, and there was the moment. Bradl's rear wheel completely up off the ground, and that's why he ran wide at turn 10, as we noticed at the time. So Rossi still leads. This is over at turn 4 now. Those Hondas looking very, very menacing, aren't they? Ganging up almost on Valentino Rossi.
He's used to that. He'll handle that. Anybody who thought Valentino Rossi was going to retire, well, he wants to continue for 2 more years, and here he is leading here in Barcelona. 3 consecutive podium finishes for Valentino Rossi. He hasn't won a race since Assen last year. I tell you, if he wins this one, this would one of his greatest ever victories, because Marquez and Pedrosa look particularly threatening right behind him.
And isn't it fantastic just to see them all battling together like this, all on equal terms? 2 Hondas, 2 Yamahas, right at their factory teams, top 4, absolutely glued together. Only 7/10 of a second between them, and we're on the 9th of the 25 laps. Just over 17 to go then now here in Barcelona. Now Marquez is looking very, very quick indeed behind Rossi. Pedrosa knows that, and Pedrosa needs to attack at the same time. Compare the lean angles of the 2 of them into the right-hander here at turn 12, and then 13 at the end of the lap. It's a very, very dark sky, isn't it, by the way? Let's see the sort of maximum, both exactly there on 57, around 13.
Listen to that seamless gear box up through the gears, up into 6th gear, well over 200 miles an hour, and then they'll be down through the gearbox, 2nd gear for turn 1.
Remember, Lorenzo's right behind Dani Pedrosa as well. Heavy braking for 1.
Well, you've got to say, Rossi is running a really good pace at the front. Marquez, without a doubt, has got something left in the locker. We wait to see about Dani Pedrosa. This is as well placed, I think, as we've seen Dani Pedrosa for a long time. Thinks about getting up the inside of Marc Marquez as they come into the fast turn 3. Marquez just struggling a little bit there.
Yeah, the rear was definitely trying to get away from him, wasn't it, there, right in the middle of turn 4. Don't forget, that's where they almost did run into each other and he's through. Marquez wide again at turn 5, and Pedrosa is through. Now, can Marquez respond on the left-hander of 6? No, he cannot, so Pedrosa goes 2nd on lap 10.
Last Grand Prix victory for Dani Pedrosa was at Sepang in Malaysia last year. Last one for Valentino Rossi was in Assen. Marc Marquez, you don't have to ask, do you? Last one was Mugello 2 weeks ago. Jorge Lorenzo, that last win was at Motegi in Japan in 2013. Here comes Marquez, he loves turn 10.
Oh, that was
a real
aggressive
squiggle there for Dani Pedrosa.
Yeah, caught him by surprise. That was very, very aggressive on his teammate there. I think Marquez knew he had to respond, otherwise Pedrosa would have started to catch and then maybe even pass Valentino Rossi, so Pedrosa won't be best pleased about that. Let's see how he approaches the situation back down to turn 1 this time.
He wants to get nice and close. You can get through turn 12 really quick with it coming now. You have every chance of slipstreaming and getting past at turn 1, and there's very little the person in front can do. But you have to be close. Crowd, what was it, 95,000, loving every minute of it. Here comes Pedrosa once again in the slipstream, now coming up the inside, but Marquez leaves his braking very late indeed. 1, 2, 3 remains the same. All Lorenzo can do is watch from 4th place, and Bradl hanging on as hard as he can, but just dropping back that little bit.
That's what happened then, because of those Hondas battling with each other. Rossi was quicker that time round and extended the lead to 4.5 of a second. Now, last time Pedrosa passed Marquez, it was because of a mistake from Marquez at the very next corner, turn 5. But Pedrosa's very, very strong under braking at the moment. What's he going to do? Turn 5, I don't think he's close enough unless something very desperate takes place, which thankfully it does not. He's going to follow him all the way down the back straight, maybe have a go at turn 10 where he was passed by Marquez a lap ago. Look how close he is now.
Pedrosa's really good through this very difficult section, isn't it? 6, 7 and 8 as they come up towards the turn 9.
Here's the move at turn 10 on the last lap. That was a very, very late lunge indeed by Marc Marquez. Dani Pedrosa did not expect that. Thankfully, they did not touch, and the battle resumes. Here they come into that very same corner, but he's not close enough this time.
Marquez is really quick through turn 10. So Rossi still leads the way through 10. 15.5 laps to go. Lorenzo having to work very, very hard to stay with these 3 at the front. We haven't seen Valentino Rossi lead a race for a long, long time for this amount of distance.
In the stadium section, his fans are just behind the camera on the outside here of turn 12. And it's Catalunya curve at the end of the lap. Lorenzo still running in a solid 4th place, but he's 1.1 seconds behind the leader, his teammate Rossi, and half a second now behind 3rd place Dani Pedrosa.
race down the start and finish straight, over the rise, down towards turn 1. Now, Pedrosa could be close enough. On the brakes, Marquez very, very late. That's where he crashed Stewart in qualifying. There is Lorenzo. Stefan Bradl watching all the action from 5th place.
Yeah, and with
a
the
little bit
red
further
marks.
back, yeah, we better start talking about somebody else when everything's been going on so much at the front. That is Alicia Spargo, his brother Pole, and then Andrea Dovizioso. I think we just got a glimpse also of Andrea Iannone.
And oh dear, Cal Crutchloh's name's dropping down the timesheets. What's happened? He crashed at Mugello 2 weeks ago. He's now being registered as 20th in this Grand Prix. Don't forget Bradl, though, in 5th place. He's on that harder compound tyre now. Which order are those two Repsol Honda bikes in? It's still Marquez in front of Dani Pedrosa, but Pedrosa had a real go again there as they tips it left, hard braking for the slowest corner on the track, turn 5. It's about 55 miles an hour, 90 kilometres an hour on the apex there of 5.
Up through 6, 7, towards 8. Rossi still leads. Marquez closing all the time. Marquez, and here is Cal Crutchlow. Looks like a mechanical problem, I would imagine, for Cal Crutchlow. Doesn't seem to be any damage to the bike, does there? Look on either side, but Crutchlow out of the race once again.
Sorry guys, just a bit of exploring with Alvaro Bautista earlier on. So he didn't crash out of the race, but his bike just stopped, so they're not quite sure what went wrong then.
Thanks, Dylan. Weather-wise, we seem to be hanging in there. We got all our fingers crossed and everything crossed here.
There's down the end of the home straight. If you look the next time, they're going down there up to the right. We can see some clearer skies, so that is moving over, but very, very slowly. And I do stress that there are still a lot of very dark and low clouds hovering over the track.
14 laps to go, round 7 of the MotoGP World Championship. Marquez makes life very difficult for Pedrosa. Very quick into turn 1. Pedrosa looks threatening in 3rd place.
He's overcooked it slightly this
He got
time,
in there
though.
too hot, didn't he?
Definitely did. He was squirming around under braking, trying to keep the front tyre under control. Managed to not run wide. Here is a replay. Watch the third of the bikes. Pedrosa then running out wide at turn 1 and will lose some ground. Let's see how long it takes to catch up again.
Yeah, he got pulled in there by Marc Marquez and made life difficult for him. You really have to admire Valentino Rossi at the front. He is riding a tremendous pace, but Marquez is closing all the time. 13.5 laps to go, the weather remaining dry.
Look back then for the start of the race. This is a replay, and we're riding on board with Jorge Lorenzo from the middle of the front row. Look at Rossi scorching through, and Andrea Dovizioso once again on the Ducati left-hand side. That was a remarkable getaway from 7th position off the line. Marc is now on the inside of Rossi, braking for turn 1. Lorenzo sweeps around the outside of Pedrosa. Easy to forget, isn't it, that Lorenzo was actually leading the race right back at the start. He was now running 4th.
Guys, a note on Cal Crutchlow. Looks to be an electronic problem. He came in and was pointing to the dashboard, which was flashing up red, so he's unfortunately had to retire from the race.
Another look at the start, all into turn 1. Jorge Lorenzo leads the way. Pretty hectic in there. Whoa, look at this, turn 3. Lorenzo, Pedrosa, Rossi, Marquez, Dovizioso, you can see that. Polar Spargo a little bit further back, Andrea Iannone, Alicia Spargo. There is the unfortunate Alvaro Bautista, Michele Pirro you see at the back of that group, Colin Edwards, Nicky Hayden, they're all there.
Yeah, and imagine the likes of Freddie Frith and Les Graham could see that replay. That's MotoGP 2014 for you on the 65th anniversary weekend of the World Championship. Lorenzo then puts in a better lap that time. He is catching Pedrosa very slowly in the battle for 3rd place. It's within a second now, but wow, they're really putting some heat on Rossi, aren't they?
And I tell you what, Marquez is beginning to close on Valentino Rossi. I think Marquez is going to make a move soon. He may make that move at his favourite overtaking place, turn 10. He is close enough perhaps to do that. I'm sure Rossi is ready, but he's very, very hard to stop there. Closing all the time now, Marc Marquez.
Yes, and Pedrosa as well, closing right up on the rear wheel of his teammate's bike. Pedrosa is extremely strong under braking for turn 5. So Rossi still leads. It's Marquez, Pedrosa. Lorenzo is 4th. Bradl still 5th. Bradl, by the way, has dropped backside. He's 1.7 seconds behind Lorenzo now and 3.2 seconds behind the leader. Look, though, at Rossi. He was offline into the right-hander at 9.
We ride with Dani Pedrosa. That's Marc Marquez in front of him. Will he try to get up the inside? He's not close enough this time round. The infamous turn 10. Will it play a big part in this race? It certainly did 2 years ago when Marc Marquez collided with Polar Spargo in the Moto2 race.
dirt and debris all over the track there down at turn 10. Has been for the whole race so far, to be honest. Here they all come in through the stadium section now. Marquez needs a clear run through this final corner. He's right up behind Rossi. The lead might be going for Rossi here. There'll be 12 laps to go. We'll be starting that 14 out of 25 in Catalonia. Let's see how close can Marquez get down this start-finish straight. He is definitely closing in.
Here comes Marquez for the first time, makes a move up the inside on the brakes. 35 years old he may be, but
he's
Rossi...
running wide, he's running wide.
Marquez has gone wide. So, Pedrosa will come through into second place. Now, he'll come back on the track. He's going to have to let, surely...
Well, I think that's fair enough because he hasn't gained a position, but he's going to lose it now anyway.
Yeah, well, he's going to let Dani... I don't know if he lets Dani Pedrosa through or not, but he probably felt it was an unfair advantage. By golly, this has given Rossi just a little bit of breathing space.
Oh, so Rossi then extending the lead. That wouldn't have helped Pedrosa either. That distraction of seeing Marquez rejoining to his left-hand side. I think that was all fair enough. Marquez didn't gain or lose a position. And now again, another late dive at the inside of his teammate. Pedrosa has to sit up for the second time this afternoon then. Marquez pulls a very aggressive move on his teammate, who fights back immediately.
This is more like last season, these two teammates, isn't it? Absolutely going hammer and tongs. Here comes Marquez. He thinks, I could get up the inside of Rossi. Rossi leaves his braking so late, and then he goes and he knows. This is exactly what he did yesterday in qualifying, but he tried to get through it. This time he realised he's just got to run it on.
Well, last time it was turn 10, now turn 5 to re-attack Dani Pedrosa. Sits him up once again. Pedrosa, well, I think the blood will be boiling soon if they're not careful. At the moment, then, it's still Marquez in front of Pedrosa. Every single time Marquez makes a mistake, Pedrosa gets through, he gets him straight back again, doesn't he?
This is as good as we've seen Valentino Rossi for a long, long time. He is running a fantastic race at the front. Can the young guns, well, young guns really, Marc Marquez catch him? Pedrosa will be seething. Down the start and finish straight they come. There are 11 laps to go. What a fantastic MotoGP race. It was 2 in Mugello, wasn't it? It's a gladiatorial contest. Here, I'm not sure. And you know, Jorge Lorenzo is not out of this one yet either, in 4th place.
Well, Rossi was the fastest of them that time around. There are other lap times, look, top left of the screen. So we're 42.8 for Rossi that time around. The two Hondas battling each other and slowing each other down as well. Rossi was quicker than both Honda riders on the last lap. Replay with Marquez down to turn 1. Wow. Thankfully, he didn't take Rossi with him there. So he's off the circuit. He'll rejoin. Now he needs to be very careful. Rossi will appear to our right. And he then rejoined in front of Dani Pedrosa, but that loss of momentum resulted in the loss of second place, which he then snatched back just a few corners later. Wide at turn 1, making best use of that runoff area, which, don't forget, used to be a gravel trap. Back on, he's lost momentum across the runoff, across the AstroTurf. Now he's on the marbles, and Pedrosa was through as well, but very briefly.
Two Hondas have not had a battle like this for some time, have they? They are really being met head-on by the Yamahas. It's exactly what we wanted to see. 10.5 laps to go. Rossi still leads the way, taking that first Grand Prix victory for nearly a year. Marquez, Pedrosa, Lorenzo. Don't rule him out for a podium finish as well, but this is Rossi at his best.
Yes,
we haven't seen him run a race at this sort of pace, even at Assen last year when there's a lot of injuries and a lot of problems. But this is straight racing. This is impressive stuff from a 35-year-old rider.
Would have been shown as 3rd and 4th for leaders. Rossi does lead with Marquez in 2nd place. Pedrosa was very, very late on the brakes and almost missed his braking point into turn 10 last time. Let's see how close Lorenzo might be to the back of Dani Pedrosa as they head down the start-finish straight. So, on to lap 16 with 10 to go. Rossi leads Marquez by 0.8 of a second. Pedrosa's 0.3 behind Marquez. You can see the gap there between the two Hondas. And no, Lorenzo is not close enough to Pedrosa, but he's closer than previously. It's only 0.4 of a second now. So, Lorenzo is almost as close to Pedrosa as Pedrosa is to Marc Marquez.
There's little need to say anything there, is there? Look at that shot. Turn 3, fast right-hander.
180 miles an hour plus, kilometres an hour plus. Look at the eyes for Valentino Rossi. That's the doctor doing his best work, isn't it?
Certainly is. Operating at full strength, you'd say that. Some can watch, some can't. I don't blame them. Nerve-wracking time. Two Yamahas are in with a shout. Here is Marquez. You know, more than anything else in the world, he will come back and have another go at Valentino Rossi. Rossi, you've got to say, has fought him off very, very well indeed so far. Can he continue to do that?
Bradley Smith pushing hard further back in the field, by the way. He's running in 10th position, puts in his best lap of the race so far. Quick rundown then. Here's the top four. Rossi, Marquez, Pedrosa, Lorenzo. Look, it's almost equidistant now between each of them, with the exception of Rossi, who's fractionally ahead of Marc Marquez. Outside of the top four, Bradley is 5th. Aleix and Pol Espargaro running in slightly lonely 6th and 7th places. Dovizioso, the first of the Ducatis, is 8th. Crutchlow out of the race, by the way, for the 4th time this season. Only 9th from Smith, who's just put in his best lap of the race. Hernandez is 11th. Redding, Hayden, Hiroshi Oyama, so 3 customer Hondas locked together there. And Michele Pirro completing the points scorers for now.
9 to go. Rossi still leads the way. Marquez in 2nd place. There is Pedrosa. There is Lorenzo.
Look at that for Marquez, almost 3/10 quicker than Rossi last time round. He's reduced the gap again to half a second. There is Aleix Espargaro. Is he making any inroads? Well, Dovizioso certainly making inroads, and he takes Pol Espargaro down at turn 1 for 7th place. That's the 2nd time he's passed him this afternoon. But for how long is he ahead? Not long.
Well, there's racing all down through the field here, isn't there? Espargaro and Dovizioso. Of course, Dovizioso did ride for that Tech 3 team. Before he went for the Ducati, we ride with Andrea Dovizioso. So the battle for 7th place. Pol Espargaro has had 2 great rides in Mugello, 5th, 4th in Le Mans. And this is another very good ride by the Moto2 world champion, who won here last year in the Moto2 race. Dovizioso has one winner here in the 250cc class.
Pol Espargaro has qualified on the front already this year as well. That was in France 2 races ago. So battling, absolutely hammering tongs, aren't they here? The fight going on for 7th place. Back with Dovizioso, Ducati. They're one of the few men in the field to have ridden for Honda, Yamaha and Ducati at different times in his Grand Prix career. Memorably won that damp race at Donington Park for Repsol Honda back in 2009. Look at the Ducati grunt. He's homing right in on the back of that Satellite M1. This is the left-hander at turn 10.
Yeah, we ride with Andrea Dovizioso back at the front. Marquez is closing up once again on Valentino Rossi. He's had a couple of looks there before, and Rossi's fought him off. Can he continue to fight him off? Can Marquez make it 7 out of 7? Can the doctor return to the top step of the podium? Don't rule out Pedrosa and don't rule out Jorge Lorenzo. Here comes Marquez once again on the brakes. Rossi, you've got to say, is riding a sterling race at the front. This time Marquez doesn't get dragged in quite as much and doesn't run it on.
Critical period as well now for Dani Pedrosa. 8 laps to go. It's lap 19 of 25. He's got to try and home in on these two while they're battling like this. Look how close they are. We're with Marquez. Up to turn 4 they go under the bridge. Surely he won't attempt to pass here, and no, he does not. But don't forget, Pedrosa needs to try and respond as quickly as possible. Turn 5 coming up. He's passed Pedrosa here. Can he do the same with Rossi?
Into turn 5 we go. Rossi still leads away from Marquez. No gap for him to go through. He's going to be very close when they get up at turn 10. Pedrosa hanging in there well. Rossi still leads the way. 9 times winner in Barcelona. This would be the very best win of them all. Marquez is close this time round. Up over the rise they come. This is turn 9. They now race down to turn 10. We ride with Marquez. Can he get up the inside of Rossi? I don't think he's close enough.
I don't think he is either. Great grunt, though, from that Yamaha out of turn 9. Pedrosa had a great run out of there as well. Close right in. Almost identical lap times by both of the Honda riders last time round. They both put in a 42.9, but incidentally, that was 0.3 of a second quicker than the man they're chasing, Valentino Rossi. Jorge Lorenzo's pace, he was 0.2 quicker than Rossi last time round as well. He's a further half a second behind Dani Pedrosa, but it's not half a second now. He's definitely lost some ground in this lap.
Marquez is going to have a go at turn 1 here. I think this is as close as he's been. We ride with Marc Marquez right on the rear wheel of the Yamaha of Valentino Rossi, up through the gearbox. That Yamaha certainly seems to have a lot of grunt. Rossi gets out of there very quick indeed. Number 93 against 46. Here comes Marquez up the inside this time. Can he make it stick? He does. Marc Marquez leads the way and the crowd go crazy. And Dani Pedrosa might try and flick it up the inside of Rossi. Not able to do so. Now, can Rossi hang in there with Pedrosa and with Marquez? Pedrosa up into second. Pedrosa's taken the lead all the way through.
Oh, it's raining.
It's raining.
Hands up.
It is raining.
So they're all going to have to coast back round. The white flag will surely come out. Rossi retakes the lead at turn 4. Marquez goes second again. Pedrosa and now Lorenzo goes right in on them as well. So panic down in the pit lane. They've got to get the wet tyres on.
Yep, they were not prepared for this. Absolutely bone dry here. You can't see a single thing about that.
No, all the hands went up. I thought Pedrosa was apologising for a minute. I couldn't work it out.
I wondered what he was doing for a moment
Yeah,
as well. They've got to be
but
so careful
obviously
now.
is rain. We wait to hear from any indication from flags or race direction. Have we got a flag-to-flag race? Well, it's been dramatic enough already. Now there's 6.5 laps to go. The rain could be coming. And still Valentino Rossi leads the way from Marc Marquez. And of course, Jorge Lorenzo in all that confusion is closed right up on the 3 leaders.
Yeah, Mike de Meglo's retired from the race, by the way, so misfortune there for the Frenchman. But look at this battle going on back at the front. It's raged for the entire race so far. Pol Espargaro retakes Dovizioso for 7th, but we've got to concentrate on this battle back at the sharp end. Rossi, Marquez, Pedrosa, Lorenzo glued together with just over 6 to go. Dylan.
Any sign of flags, Dylan?
No, none down here. It's absolutely bone dry down here, and I think the riders are going to have to weigh up whether they go slower in the part where it is a little bit wet, because if the rest of the track is dry, they will absolutely shred those wet tyres in about half a lap.
6 laps to go. Marquez decides to try to get round the outside of Valentino Rossi. He's not going to be able to do that. He may be able to flick it up the inside, and he's done it. Magnificent riding from Marc Marquez. Here comes Pedrosa once again, but Rossi blocks him out. Lorenzo watches on. Marquez at the front. Now this is crucial. This is where the hands went up last time, but it doesn't appear there's any rain there at the moment. Can Marquez get away at the front? Can these 3 stay with the 6 times winner this season?
Can you imagine what's going through their minds coming around turn 3? They're not knowing how wet it is, but attacking and defending at the same time. Now those points up to the sky were at each other, but also to race direction, to say there are drops falling here, guys. There's drops falling at turn 3. Looking back then from Marquez at Rossi. Pedrosa's looked strong all afternoon, it has to be said, and Lorenzo did very well indeed to just follow the same line through turn 3. On that previous lap when the rain was falling there, just a few drops, it must be said, and closed right up on the top 3. This is the right-hander at turn 9 again.
We ride with Marc Marquez. Can Marquez fight off Valentino Rossi? Will the rain come? 5.5 laps to go here in Barcelona.
Now they've got to get it right, and Marquez again runs wide at turn 10. Rossi is back into the lead of the race, or is he? No, he's not. Marquez just tucks it around the front of that M1 Yamaha. He's really struggling to get that bike slowed down.
Rossi still looks strong in 2nd place. Marquez has not got away at the front. Plunged through turn 12, down towards 13. Here is the overtaking manoeuvre.
Yeah, this is Marquez running wide at turn 10. Look, runs wide, and I thought Rossi had the lead.
Rossi had got him, didn't you? That's what I meant. I thought he'd got past him. Sorry, but then I thought they were level. Over they come, down the start and finish straight. 5 laps to go. Rossi nicely placed when he come out of the slipstream now. On the brakes he goes. No, Marquez leaves it late. Lorenzo closing up on Dani Pedrosa.
He's on the outside, he'll be on the inside for turn 2, but no, Pedrosa's got a better line through there and better traction now. The weather could be changing every single time they make their way around turn 3. Incidentally, it was a great move, wasn't it, for Pedrosa at the time to dive up the inside.
A little bit unfortunate for him, wasn't it? Here comes Rossi once again. Rossi up the inside of Marquez. He's made it stick. Valentino Rossi then runs it a little bit wide. Marquez comes back and retakes the lead. Down towards turn 5 they come. Marquez and Rossi linked together. Pedrosa and Lorenzo. 4.5 laps to go here in Barcelona. Just does not get a lot better than this.
They need to be so careful, particularly around that turn 2-3 section with white lines, curbs. They are absolutely treacherous with any amount of water on them, as we've seen earlier on in the weekend this morning with the Moto3 warm-up session. Up to turn 9 at the top of the hill. Marquez, Rossi, Pedrosa, Lorenzo. It is anyone's race, isn't it?
Certainly is. Down towards turn 10 they come. This is where Marquez is particularly strong. Rossi goes in line astern.
Yeah, and Pedrosa's going to get a great run out of there. You saw the wider arc he took. He'll close right in on Valentino Rossi into 11. Lorenzo's dropped right back again. Look at Lorenzo. He was right up with them just 3 laps ago when those few drops of rain fell at turn 3. But Lorenzo falls right back out of contention for now in this battle. Don't forget Stefan Bradl with a hard compound front tyre, but he's now 5 seconds behind this group.
Was Rossi once again, remembering getting up the inside there of Jorge Lorenzo in 2009 to win the race. Marquez not letting that happen. Crowd are going crazy in the main grandstand. Over 90,000 people here. Who are they supporting? Well, they're probably supporting Marquez, but they're very happy to see Rossi. Rossi again on the brakes, leaves it as late as he can, tries to get up the inside. Marquez holds him up. Oh, Pedrosa is through. Can he make it stick? He does. Dani Pedrosa now up into 2nd place. Can he have a go at his teammate?
I'm not sure he thought he could make it stick, but he had to. He was so far inside of Rossi, he had to complete the move. So 4 to go. We're on to lap 23 now lap 22 of 25. Now then, can Pedrosa shake off Rossi first of all? That's the first problem, isn't it? He's got to shake off Rossi before he can attack Marc Marquez.
Can Marquez open up any sort of advantage at the front? He's trying extremely hard. These three look like they can compete all the way. It's disappointing for Jorge Lorenzo, could finish off the podium, could still win the race, because anything could happen here. Pedrosa closes up on his teammate. Hasn't won a race since Sepang in Malaysia. First pole position for a year, riding at his home track. Up through 8, up towards 9 they come. 3.5 laps to go. Up over the rise, down towards the dreaded turn 10.
Yeah, and it could be the dreaded turn 5 as well if they're not careful, because Marquez ran fractionally wide again there that time. Pedrosa closed right in. Let's see how close they are to each other as they come out of turn 10. Again, Marquez on a wider line, Pedrosa a tighter line, and he's closing in fractionally through the middle of the corner. For now, Marquez has the lead.
He's chasing his 7th consecutive Grand Prix victory, Marc Marquez, the youngest ever world champion. And he's got the hammer down now. There'll be 3 laps to go when he goes over that start and finish line into turn 13. Has he broken them? Have Rossi and Pedrosa got anything left in the locker? 3 to go, his board tells him.
That's Marquez has been warned that Pedrosa is now the man in 2nd place. What can Dani Pedrosa do? 0.2 of a second between them with 3 laps to go here. And Rossi is a further 0.3 almost behind Pedrosa. It's absolutely equidistant, isn't it? This is the left-hander at turn 2. And look, just a fraction slower was Dani Pedrosa last time. He must attack. He's got to attack now. And he is attacking now. Marquez slightly wide again at turn 3.
He is attacking. Dani Pedrosa closing up on his teammate. There's been some pretty aggressive moves between the two of them earlier in the race. Not quite close enough. Time is running out for Dani Pedrosa. Just over 2.5 laps to go. Round 7 of the World Championship in Barcelona, in front of the home crowd. They are loving every single minute of this.
Now, Dani Pedrosa has passed Marquez twice this afternoon, but on both occasions, Marquez had made a mistake to allow that to happen. Then Marquez responded with very, very aggressive moves, first at turn 10 and then at turn 5. You have to say that Pedrosa looks the more comfortable of the two, having started here on pole position with 2.5 laps to go now. So where are the possible overtaking opportunities? You'd have to say it's going to be turn 1, 5 or 10, wouldn't you?
Good. Great picture there of Marc Marquez. Elbow down, knee down on the tarmac here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Back at the front, not quite close enough this time around, up into the stadium section. Packed grandstands away to their left, people going crazy. Pedrosa can't mount a challenge. There's just that gap is a little bit too much as they plunge down through turn 12 towards turn 13. When they cross the line, there will be 2 laps remaining. Now Pedrosa very, very fast through turn 12, trying to get the drive out, trying to get close enough, have a nibble up the inside. I don't think he is close enough down at turn 1. We ride with Pedrosa.
He's sucked along in the slipstream though, but he's not close enough, is he? Certainly at the moment. What can he do under brakes? No, he's not close enough. Marquez again out there on the curbs as he was when he crashed in qualifying yesterday. Pedrosa's searching for his first win here in 6 years. 2008 was the last time he crossed the line first. We have 2 to go. Now they're certainly closer now than they've been at any moments over the last 3 laps. Look how close Dani Pedrosa is, and they're coming up to turn 4 where they nearly collided when Marquez was behind Pedrosa about this time last year.
Oh, he thought about getting up the inside there, but he kept a nice tight line, a tighter line than we've seen previously from Marc Marquez. Down towards the slowest bend on the circuit, turn 5. Can Pedrosa get up there? No, both left legs go out. Rossi can only watch at the moment from 3rd place. I think Pedrosa's going to find one place to have a go, don't you?
He's going to have to make a late dive somewhere, isn't he? There's not long to go now, only 1.5 laps here in Barcelona. Rossi, by the way, put in a good lap that time, almost matched Marc Marquez for pace at the front of the race. Only 0.02 of a second slower, but Pedrosa was a 10th up on both of them. Lorenzo, by the way, has dropped right back. Lorenzo, 2.4 seconds behind Rossi. Just saw him in the background.
We ride with Dani Pedrosa down into turn 10, 1.5 laps to go. Marc Marquez, he's running a little bit wide. Pedrosa trying to get up the inside. How are they going to come out of this one? Well, he still leads the way, but Pedrosa closes right up through turn 10 into the stadium section. Can he get a good run through here and perhaps have a go on the very last lap down at turn 1?
And he knows how vital it is now. He's got to follow Marquez all around this section out of 12. He's extremely close to the back of him this time. Marquez again over the white line through 13. Pedrosa will be close enough, I think, to challenge this time in the slipstream on the start of the final lap. Here we go.
Here we go, not side by side just yet. Can he come out of the slipstream side by side now? The 2 Hondas, the 2 Spanish riders. And Pedrosa has made it stick, and Marquez has been relegated to 2nd place, then runs it a little bit wide. Dani Pedrosa leads away. Marquez fights back side by side, and Pedrosa back in front.
Brave stuff then for Marquez and Dani Pedrosa. Marquez leads the way up to the right-hander at turn 4. Well, we had two Yamahas battling here 5 years ago. How about two Hondas on the... Here we go again, turn 4. Pedrosa takes the lead. He's run slightly wide. Marquez is attacking once again. A titanic battle on the final lap of the race. Marquez leads. Here's turn 5.
Turn 5 they come. Slowest bend on the circuit. Marquez making sure that Dani Pedrosa can't go through there. We ride with Dani Pedrosa. Marc Marquez in front of them. Through 6, 7, up towards turn 8, 9, then onto the back straight. Pedrosa's got to be very, very close here. He's going to have a go at turn 10. Surely if he's going to have a go, this is where it's going to happen. Good drive out of 9 is imperative for Pedrosa.
Absolutely paramount. Down towards 10 they come, then down this short back straight. What a great way to celebrate the 65-year anniversary of the World Championship, and Pedrosa is still behind him now. Marquez slightly wide again. Pedrosa's final chance surely now will only be great drive out of the final corner and try and slipstream through on the run to the line. Easy up the inside, they touch, they make contact, he's run wide, Rossi takes second, he's blown it, Dani Pedrosa is wide. Surely then now Marc is on course for a 7th consecutive victory.
Yeah, they touched. And Marc Marquez celebrates as his 2nd win in Barcelona, but his 7th win of the season. A full house for Marc Marquez. Valentino Rossi 2nd once again, and what a fight by Dani Pedrosa, who finally had to settle for 3rd place. But what an amazing MotoGP race, and well done Stefan Bradl, a lonely 5th place. But Marquez on top once again here in Barcelona.
Wow. The rain didn't really affect it in the end, did it? Marquez looking back thinking, did Dani finish the race? Did he crash? Well, yes, he did, Mark. He finished in 3rd position. You saw Pedrosa put his hand up when he finished the race, just to say, sorry, guys. Thankfully, though, he didn't take him out of the race. Rossi would have been winning if that happened. Here's a replay, then, of what happened. Brilliant traction for Pedrosa out of the previous corner. Watch, touch, out wide. Rossi through to 2nd, and Marquez cannot believe his luck. He was not taken down. Watch the front wheel of Pedrosa's bike.
Was he lucky?
Amazing, he stayed on to finish 3rd. Here we are on board. Let's just feel and listen to the touch. Here we go.
Oh
dear.
1 is lucky that Marquez didn't go down. 2, extremely lucky that Pedrosa stayed on and still finished in 3rd place.
It's ironic as well that they nearly touched here at the end of the race last year, didn't they, when they were battling for 2nd place. It was Marquez behind Pedrosa on that occasion. This time then, Marquez fends him off, and he had to fight hard for that one, didn't he, again?
Well, everything anybody throws at him, he still fights them off. He isn't going to win every race this season. Somebody is going to beat him. But first, Valentino Rossi and Dani Pedrosa gave it their absolute all. But the 21-year-old Spaniard still reigns supreme. Another podium finish, though, for Valentino Rossi.
What an amazing way then for Honda to celebrate that century. 100 wins in the Premier class since the 4-stroke modern era began in 2002. They almost took each other out just 3 corners from the end of the race, but it's Marquez who takes that 100th victory in the modern era for Honda. I suppose it seems only appropriate, really, bearing in mind what he's done over recent months.
Right on Dani Pedrosa, that's as good, as tough as we've seen you ride for a long, long time. Oh, what a last lap. And we're riding with Valentino Rossi, and he must think, whoa, way up, I could still win this one.
Look at Yamaha, they're thinking, oh, they've touched, is he through? And they're delighted he's 2nd, but of course, Marquez still leads the way.
Well, we've seen everything from this 21-year-old. 125 world champion, Moto2 world champion, MotoGP world champion. But good to see Dani Pedrosa back in this sort of form. And I'm sure when we arrive at Assen for the race in 13 days' time, Rossi and Pedrosa and hopefully Jorge Lorenzo will be at Marquez once again. Hasn't it produced some great races this season?
Isn't it just amazing? Dani Pedrosa is often criticised for never having won the Premier Class title, but now then 3rd in the all-time listings of podium finishes. He's got so many records, Dani Pedrosa, so many incredible statistics. There are the 2 Espargaro brothers running around on this slowdown lap with the Espargarin fan club flags. They finished this race 7th for pole, and Alace just in front of him in 6th position.
That's what victory means here for Marc Marquez. Well, I think we're all a bit of that part of that fan club, don't you? Oh, kicking footballs now into the crowd. I saw him taking penalties. Was it on Thursday on the pit, on the start and finish straight?
Yeah, they were, weren't they?
He was one of these deaf little footballers. He'd hit everything with the side of his foot, didn't he? Not like the way he rides a motorcycle, straight at it.
He does everything on his side, doesn't he, Marc Marquez?
Yeah, yes, that's right. Boy, Lorenzo will be disappointed. I wonder what the problem there. You would imagine it was probably tyres, wouldn't you?
I suppose you have to think. I don't know. It's
They're having a real hard look at the front tyre.
Well, in all fairness, he didn't finish that far behind the.
No, he didn't, Dylan.
Front three,
It's
so
just that it was. Yeah.
You know, it's not always necessarily just down to the problem. Maybe the other guys were just that tiny little bit better today.
Well, Lorenzo was 2.7 seconds behind Pedrosa in the end. There is Pedrosa, 4.5 seconds than he was behind the winner. Quick rundown into the others. Bradle, hard compound front tyre. Well, it did pay off. He did the best under the circumstances to finish 5th there. Then the two Espargaros are late and pole. Dovizioso 8th from Iannone and Smith. Hernandez very much inside the points. Redding wins that customer Honda battle. And Hayden Pirro moved up to collect 2 points from Hiroshi Oyama. And Brock Parks, by the way, closed right in towards Oyama, trying to push for a point for PBM at the end of the race. But it was Hiroshi Oyama, who resides here in Barcelona, picking up a point for Avintia.
Celebration time for the Valentino Rossi fan club. 4 successive podium finishes now for the Doctor. And he gave it absolutely everything in that race. And for the problems he had a few problems in practice. Not the best at qualifying, although he did get onto the second row of the grid. He rode as good a race as we've seen for Valentino Rossi for a long, long time at the front. Nearly rewarded at the end, wasn't he? When the two Hondas almost collided.
And this is the drama with 7 laps to go, and those spots of rain started flooding. Now that's interesting. There was a yellow flag out there. And Pedrosa passed under the yellow flag. Look.
I understand.
Hold on a second. Marquez. Look, Marquez moved back to previous position after overtaking under yellow flag. So what does that mean now?
So Pedrosa lets them through. So they both let Rossi through, is that right? Yes. And they're back in their original positions.
It looks like it. Marquez's name certainly on the top of the timing screen here from Rossi and Pedrosa.
Well, we thought it was rain, but that was it. It was a yellow flag. What a day for the Marquez family. Winner of MotoGP, winner of Moto3. Oh, not any other brothers, is there? I think that's it, isn't it?
Struggling to think now after that drama.
There is his brother Alex. Double Grand Prix win for the family.
I have to say, if they were all reacting to the yellow flag, they did a very good job of understanding what was going on.
They're all very experienced riders. They did a brilliant job, actually. We thought it was rain, but no, it definitely was. The yellow flag, well spotted, everybody. They're the two brothers.
No way, I suppose, the marshals would have waved a yellow for any rain.
No, they wouldn't. No, they wouldn't. No, definitely not. It would have been the white one, and it didn't come out.
There's Tito Rabat as well. Did pretty well in the Moto2 race this afternoon. In fact, we might as well say it. They're the 3 winners of the day, aren't they?
And they all train together, I think, don't they? So they're all great friends. Another great MotoGP race. Oh, fabulous stuff.
And that's the thing this year. Yes, it is being dominated by one rider in terms of final race results, but he's doing it in such exciting fashion for everybody else, isn't he?
Well done, Valentino Rossi. Trying to strangle Marc Marquez.
That's the only way they might be able to beat him this year. Look, it's a tap on the back, isn't it?
Yeah.
Again.
It's a bit of a pinch on the cheek, isn't it?
I think it is,
Quite Italian.
It is a bit.
So it looked like, Dylan, that was the yellow flag, not rain, and you kept telling us it wasn't raining.
No, well, we didn't have any rain there. Do you know what? In the last lap, there were some spits here in pit lane, but I thought I'm not going to say anything because it wasn't heavy enough, and I thought I'm not going to ruin that last lap now with people thinking about rain.
So yeah, they did sort that situation out very well indeed.
Yeah, I have to say, I thought.
Do you remember we said at the time? I said that was a bit strange that Pedrosa's hand went up like that. I didn't think it could be rain, but anyway.
Yeah, I thought he was pointing at the sky, but obviously he just had noticed that yellow flag and did a very good job, didn't he, to do that?
So there we go. Marc Marquez wins by half a second in the end from Valentino Rossi. Dani Pedrosa, a valiant effort, just half a lap from the end to get past Marc Marquez. The rear wheel of Marc Marquez's Honda touched the front wheel of Dani Pedrosa's Honda. Pedrosa was pushed wide. Rossi came through, but it was a tremendous battle at the front. Johnny Hernandez picking up some useful points. That's it, Scott Redding. Good to see Nicky Hayden back, recovering from that wrist operation. Michele Pirro picking up some points. So Rossi Oyama, as Greg said, good ride by Brock Parks on his debut here in Barcelona. Karel Abraham a faller, Alvaro Bautista and Cal Crutchlow, they had mechanical problems. Mike DiMeglio a faller earlier in the race.
So here's the Riders' Championship. 13th Grand Prix win in the Premier Class for Marc Marquez this afternoon. The lead goes up to 58 points over Valentino Rossi, who maintains second place, because he did finish, as we know, in front of Dani Pedrosa for second in the race as well. Lorenzo fourth in the championship and fourth in the race. Dovizioso, Polo and Aleix Espargaro, only 4 points between them now instead of 5 coming into this race. Stefan Bradl and Andrea Iannone jumps up into 9th in the championship after finishing 9th in the race.
Disappointment for Alvaro Bautista, as you see, dropping down 2 places. And as you say, moving up. Good ride by Johnny Hernandez. Had a really good weekend. And still that single point for the Paul Bird Motorsport team coming from Brock Parks in that opening race of the season in Qatar.
You hear the chants going out for Valentino Rossi. A bit like being back at Mugello, isn't it?
Hey. Crowd of around 95,000 here today, and I would think they loved every moment of that race. Stefan Bradl, well, it was a bit lone in the end, but that's a terrific ride by him into 5th place. First of the satellite bikes home, behind the factory Yamahas and the factory Hondas. Making up for that disappointment in Mugello for Stefan Bradl.
The podium awaits them then. So a couple of Spanish flags in Spain for the Catalan Grand Prix, and an Italian one as well. Not a bad weekend for Italy so far, without saying too much.
No, we weren't going to mention football.
Oh, I wasn't thinking about football.
So, 13 days' time, we're at Assen in Holland. That's where Valentino Rossi won his last race last season. It was at Jorge Lorenzo that was the big challenger to Marc Marquez in this one. This one was Valentino Rossi and Dani Pedrosa, but he came out on top once again.
This is the last lap of the race, and it was shades of 2009 between the two Yamahas, wasn't it? Rossi and Lorenzo. This time then Honda pushing for their 100th win of the 4-stroke era since 2002, and their 2 riders both wanted it so badly, didn't they? Pedrosa through at turn 1. Marquez then responded. This is up towards turn 4, out of 3 into 4. Great stuff from Pedrosa there. Very, very late on the brakes indeed, but too late because he's about to run wide. Marquez back ahead again. Then we're going to get very, very close down here at turn 5. We're looking down from the helicopter. So Pedrosa on the left, Marquez on the right. They almost made contact there. Thankfully, they escaped a touch. And then the next fireworks would really be in the final sector of the lap. Pedrosa was going to get very good drive indeed out of turn 10, and then did make contact with Marc Marquez at 11. So it's up the hill here. The right-hander tonight, I'm going to follow them all the way around this last lap onto the back straight. And this was critical, wasn't it, Nick? As you said at the time, Pedrosa had to get a clean run here down the back straight.
He certainly did, and he did get a good clean run, but he still seems quite a way back. They come through 10, then he closes right up as they reach 11, and then you watch. The front wheel of Dani Pedrosa's Honda touches the rear wheel of Marquez's Honda. Both stay on. Pedrosa's sent wide, and Rossi says thank you very much, and comes through into 2nd place. Pedrosa does well to stay on, but he could have taken both the Hondas out in one foul swoop. He didn't, and Marc Marquez makes it 7 out of 7, and at his home circuit. Fabulous race. 25 laps of pure drama, wasn't it?
Well, how many times this season already in 7 races have we had really, really close finishes? We had Qatar at the start of the year. We had Mugello last time out. And now here Alex Marquez seems relatively content with that one.
Wants to celebrate with his brother. I think there'll be some celebrations at home for those 2 Grand Prix winners, 2 brothers.
At their home Grand Prix on the same day.
We're going to be asking Dr. Martin Rains, aren't we? I'm surprised he hasn't popped in.
Well, he's in the media centre, and I believe he's listening in, so maybe he will pop in very shortly.
Yeah. So Aleix Espargaro, the open class riders classification, another good ride by Aleix, 54 points. Nicky Hayden 2nd, Scott Redding moving up a place to 3rd. Oyama is Nicky Hayden's teammate, dropping down to 4th. Carol Abraham, who crashed out of the race. Colin Edwards, Michele Pirro, Danilo Petrucci, who's missed the last 3 races because of a wrist injury.
And Mikel Fabrizio did finish the race today, by the way, down in 20th position. Mike de Meglia retired late, and we're not quite sure what happened to him. 3 other retirements. Carol Abraham crashed at turn 10 very early on in the race. Bautista retired with mechanical problems, and the same goes for Cal Crutchlow, who we saw pulling into the pit lane. So a real disappointment there for Crutchlow. 2nd consecutive retirement, 4th of the year. Not his fault though. It's completely a bike issue for Crutchlow. So what's Marquez doing this time?
He's going to do something with the football.
Another football.
Yeah, oh, he's going to, I reckon he's going to go on to the start and finish line. He's making his way to there he is, isn't he?
He's going to drop kick this. Right, let's have a little bit of a bet. How far up do you reckon that's going to get into that main grandstand? Here he goes. Would he reach the 2nd tier of the grandstand, do you think?
Well, no, he's a bit of a side footer, so we'll have to wait and see.
So he's signing it first of all. Somebody's going to have a very...
Yeah, there's probably going to be a fight in the grandstand as well to get it, isn't there? It's probably better to hand them rather than kick it up there.
A lovely piece of memorabilia coming somebody's way.
Yeah.
Watch the reaction of the crowd. Oh, did not get to the top tier of the grandstand. No. Who got it? There he is, the man in the green T-shirt.
Yeah.
He was on crutches as well. He did a very good job there with his limited mobility in that situation. Dylan, did you see who caught that?
No, I didn't actually. But I've just been doing checking it, so I can confirm that the yellow flag that did occur in that incident was because of the Mike de Meglio crash.
Thank you, Dylan.
So there we go.
But they both reacted to, well, all 3 of them who were fighting for the lead then reacted to it in a perfect way.
Look who's behind us, Nick. It's Dr. Martin Rains.
Right.
Is he coming to give us a bit of information? You'll just mention it yourself, Martin.
Historic day there.
Right.
The 2 brothers winning for the first time ever on the same day.
Wow.
What an historic day we have there.
There you go. The history of Grand Prix racing since 1949. The first time that 2 brothers have won Grand Prix on the same day.
Martin's only turned up because he knows the podium sitters are about to walk in your room.
No, that's probably right, yeah.
No, I've turned up to be with these 2 guys.
yeah, sure.
Calm us down, I think, after that race.
What an incredible race.
Yeah, it was fantastic stuff. Here we go. Let's have a look at it again. This could be absolutely any stage of the race. Now, this is when the yellow flag was showing for the crash of Mike de Meglio. And you watch what they do. This is perfect. First, Dani Pedrosa puts his hand up. You watch.
It was Marquez, actually. Marquez put his hand up first and then put it back down again.
What's thought I might got away with it, sorry.
And then Pedrosa, I thought Pedrosa as well had been the first to put his hand up. Look, yellow flags out, hands up. So I can only apologise. We thought it was rain at the time. I thought they were pointing to the sky.
Right, that's exactly right. I think we all thought that. But so Rossi goes back in front.
And here they are, look, explaining it to each other. Look, what happened, they're saying, coming out of turn 2. Yellow flag, OK, fair enough.
I think they handled that situation very well indeed.
No, they did. They all reacted very well indeed.
Yeah, they did, and you can see it's ended in a friendly way. I think if somebody had taken advantage there, Mike Webb could have been a very busy man this evening. But the riders reacted in exactly the right way. It was a crash of Mike de Meglio that did it. And they're still talking about it now, aren't they, as they're going up to the podium. Our friend, the speaker, I think he's got to be careful here. He might blow his top, I think.
Out onto the podium they come then. A smile from Dani Pedrosa. We've got to take our hat off to him. That was a remarkable ride.
Well, sometimes we accuse him of not, pushing hard enough when it really matters, but he did. So Valentino Rossi in 2nd place. But it's Marc Marquez, 7 wins out of 7. And Honda's 100th Grand Prix victory in the MotoGP category that started in 2002.
Marquez, he really had to push hard for that one, didn't he? Do you reckon he had to push harder today or up Mugello? We'll ask him in a minute.
Well, you'll be speaking to him in a minute. I think he probably had to push harder here, to be honest.
I agree with you. We'll see what he says.
So well done, Honda. Their 100th MotoGP victory. Dani Roma, of course, the Paris-Dakar champion, presents the 3rd place trophy to Dani Pedrosa. in second place, 9 times winner here in Barcelona. And it goes to 9 times winner here in Barcelona, Valentino Rossi. But his 7th win in succession, a full house for Marc Marquez in 2014 as he defends that world title. This may have been the toughest. We'll find out if he's going to say that. What a race. But as has happened previously this year, Marc Marquez comes out on top. Well, the history books have been rewritten once again by 21-year-old Marc Marquez. His 18-year-old brother, Alex Marquez, won the Moto3 race for the first time ever in the 65-year history of Grand Prix racing. 2 brothers win a Grand Prix race on the same day. Let the champagne flow. Well, where will this adventure end? I keep saying he's going to get beaten at some point. Well, Lorenzo gave him as hard as he could 2 weeks ago in Mugello. Pedrosa and Rossi could not have tried harder here, but he still remains on top. He still remains invincible in 2014. One little chink in qualifying didn't seem to matter, did it?